Hey guys, welcome back. I have a video here for tomorrow, 7/18, Saratoga. I was able to handicap actually 8 of the, looks like 8 or 9. I thought it was 9. I might be missing a race here, but I'll check it out. I think it was 9 of the 10 races. I think the race 6 was the only one I had passed on. Actually, you know what? I think race 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Oh, race 8 I passed on too. Okay, so race 6 and 8 I passed on. But before I get into these races here, what I want to do is I got one comment on a YouTube video, and I got a couple emails asking about the the book version of the pace progression model and what the difference is. And I did talk a little bit in my last video on what the difference is, but I want to spend a little more time on really clarifying and answering that question. And what they're referring to is they're referring to the pace progression model book that I have in print on Amazon for $26. And really, the difference is if you think about those of you that own the pace progression original, that was the digital tutorial with the videos and everything in it. The grids have evolved since then. I mean, no matter what model I focused on, the thorough capping, the matrix system, I'm always looking to evolve, and I'm trying to share as much as I can as these grids evolve. When I add pieces to it and add factors and add new formulas to do different things with the factors, I try to share as much as I can without getting too much in the how-to. Okay, and the reason being, one, I'll get emails from people asking about the how-to. And the thing is, if I look and I see that they are an owner or a current user of the pace progression model, the digital tutorial, I'll respond, with the answers that they need through the evolution, about the evolution of the grids. Anybody who asks to me to put the new grid into the download page, well, I obviously know if they want it in the download page, that means they have access to that page, which means they have to be a user of the tutorial. But again, if you look at the old grids, the original grids, when I put together that digital tutorial last year, I was only using the raw fractions. And it was equating the turn rating. Okay, and at that time, I didn't even have the formula in the grids that was doing the equating for me. I had to do the math mentally. This is a single pace line grid, and then I was dealing with final fraction, and that's it. I mean, I really was not using any type of any other data that was supplied by Briz. Now, if you look at the current grids that we're using, the current grids, the evolution has been like pretty big. I mean, we have the raw, but then we also now use the Briz pace figures, and we've also tied in the race shape numbers as well. So therefore, what it's doing is it's allowing us to create all of these different, what I call pace progression ratings. And it's allowed me to separate the early and the middle and late portion of the race, and then see where that contributes to the summative factors, which is the early late together. I should say mid-late right here. Early and then mid-late. And then these are my summative factors. And again, as you saw, this is a totally, I don't want to say a different model, but it's a totally different grid. Okay, it's a model that's evolved over the course of the last year or 8 months, or how long it's been, and I think it's evolved for the better. Because again, I'm liking the results I'm getting. I think the grids are painting a better picture for me of the winners and the results and how the race will be run, opposed to that original model. Now, with that said, I know that a lot of you have been able to take out of my videos what I've been doing and just simply email me and ask me, can you put the new grid into the download? And I've done it, and you probably were able to just jump right on ship and continue doing where you left off, and not be too confused about these factors. Now, the two new factors that are in the book that aren't in the tutorial, that I really didn't cover in the videos, as far as how-to, is the target rating, which I took out of my matrix system, and also the class adjustment or manipulation based on class level moves. And that's tied into this summary grid as well in the formulas. So what I'm going to do is this new grid here up to this point, I'm not going to put into the new grid download. The grids that are in there right now are in there, but what I have in this in the print version, the very first page, it says email me at thoroughcapping.com for access to the most current grids. And the most current grids are the ones that you're looking at right now that I've been using for Saratoga, and I used before Saratoga as well, before Saratoga started. So there may be some of you who own the digital tutorial and may want the new insight and are interested. I made sure I kept it at a reasonable price range, $26, opposed to the $40 that the original digital tutorial was going for. And also, I was able to articulate my thoughts a little bit differently, because when you're doing a video like on the digital tutorial, I wasn't doing any backtracking and rewinding and editing and taking out. I was just speaking improvisatively on how to do each of the how to do the methods. Here I was able to think, change my wording, erase, change the statement to a different statement that was a little more. So you may find that the book is actually articulated a little bit better to where it's understandable. All right. Now on to the second portion of this video is Saratoga for tomorrow. By the way, the 4 races that I put out last night, 2 of them were turf, and Saratoga came off the turf today. So I was left with the 2 7-furlong races on the dirt. And the one of them, the grid did really well. I mean, it was, I had 5-8-1 as my plays. I only put down 3, and it actually came out 8-5-1. And it paid like $56, I think, for the 50-cent try, if you played the try. I'm not sure. I didn't play the races today, but I'm not sure what the exacta paid. I know the 8 only paid like $6.40. I think he went off at 2-1. But either the 5 or the 1 had to be a decent price for the 50-cent try to pay almost $60. And then the 7th race, fell flat on my face. The grid fell flat on its face on that one. The 5 horse did win the race. I'm not sure what the 2nd and 3rd, who got 2nd and 3rd, but the grid showed me nothing on the 5, at least based on the pace line that I chose. Now, if we look at tomorrow, fingers crossed, everything stays on the turf. That's supposed to be on the turf. Hopefully we get no weather out there. I'm pretty confident with these plays and these grids. The first race is 1 1/8 miles. If you don't see a T next to it, that means that it's on the main track. So we have 1 1/8 miles. We start off with 1 1/8 miles on the main track. And I like the 1 and 3. And I'm not going to go over so much as to why. But I like the 1 and 3 as my top tier plays. And then the 7 I'm going with as my second tier play. The races that I do play tomorrow, if I do play them, I will be looking for value in the 1st and 2nd tier only for win plays, and for horses that put in the front of exotics to add value to it. The vertical exotics I'm talking. Okay, here race 2, I like the 1, 3, 7, 8. Okay, I couldn't separate there, and if you look at my grid, you probably get an idea of why I can't separate them. And again, I'm still basing things on what the bias was last week, but this is a totally new week. I mean, we had some rain up there. They did some different things to the track. There was 3 days off. I know they ran today, but today was not a good indication based on those 2 races I was able to handicap, I was able to add 1 piece of data to my sheet. So tomorrow I'll be able to get some more data and be able to compare whether the track has changed bias-wise or if it's still trending the same. Race 3 is 5.5 on the turf. I like the 6 here as a top-tier play. And then I like the 2 and the 3 as my second-tier plays. And again, you guys could take a look at them and determine why. It is a 5.5 furlong on turf. The bias last week was all about the early. All about the early on the 5.5 furlongs on the turf. And it was also, it helped when the horses were showing up in the middle of the late as well as the early. Okay? So this could be a toss-up here. I could put the 3, I didn't want to put 2, 3, 6, 3 plays as my top tier. So I put the 2 and the 3 as the second tier, but any of those 3 I'll be keeping my eye out. And if I end up playing a tournament tomorrow on horse tourneys, I'll probably look for the best value out of those 3 and use that horse. And not particularly stay loyal to the 6. And the Saratoga 4, this one's the first one on the turf. Actually, the first route on the turf. And I'm going to go with the 4 and the 6. Okay? The 4, namely because he is showing tops in the summative categories. And it's actually coming from both the early and the middle, late portion of the race. And then we have the 6, which is tops, middle, late, which is, again, the final and the turn mixed with the final. And then I have the 5 as my follow-up play in the second tier. And you can see why as well. You move to race 7. I skipped on race 6. Moved to race 7. It's a 1 mile on the main track. I'm leaning toward the 7 right now. Okay. Shows to be in a potentially good position early. Okay, not on the lead probably, but good position. And will probably shows the pace line shows me that he may perform or should perform well on the turn as well as the finish. And he's got the top 3 summative categories. So the 7 is my sole top tier play, followed by the 2, 8, and 11, which were tough to separate from there. Race 8, mile 16th, again on the turf. I couldn't separate the 8 and the 9. Okay? And you could even throw the 6 in there. I had the 6 as my second tier play. Okay, but the grid's telling me something about the 6, 8, and the 9. So again, I'm going to look for those 3 and see where the best value is. And if I put a small win bet, it's going to be on that particular horse and also as a tournament play. The 9th race is also mile 16th on the turf. I think this is on the inner turf, and this is on the main turf. And what I haven't been doing bias-wise with my statistics is separating these 2. And they're both different tracks, and I realize one will have a different bias than the other. But again, I'm just going to stick with what I was doing here and not add another surface to the data. I like the 4 and the 7. Okay, I like the 4. Something's telling me, again, the 4 horse, simply because of the... Now, I know the 9 has the top late and the top turn and finish, but he's not showing me anything elsewhere, okay? But I do want to lean toward that portion, and I wanted to see something else, and I'm seeing pretty possibly good position here early, and I'm seeing the horse show up here on the summative categories. The 11 horse is my second tier. Okay, let me get to the 7 first. The 7 horse, what I did was, I did the opposite. I said, okay, let's find a horse that's not showing up middle late, but showing good enough early, and is also showing up here in the summative categories. And it could have been a toss-up between the 7 or the 11, but I do have the 11 as a second tier play. And then finally race 10, which is a low-level maiden claiming. I think it's 30,000, and it's 6 furlongs on the main track. And the 3 and the 10 are my top plays here. And again, I played that. I wanted to play the top early, also showing up here. But I also wanted to play this 3 horse, obviously, because of showing up across the board from start to finish. Then I have the 8 as my second choice, or second tier play, followed by the 2. All right, so if you want to screenshot, go back, rewind the video, make notes, visit the slide presentation. The link is in the description. You can visit it tomorrow, follow along, and see how well the grids do. Okay? Thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you soon.